The Cincinnati Reds want to bring Hunter Greene back to make a start in the final homestand of the season against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but we wonder if that's something that they should do. We're talking about the Reds ace today on this live edition of Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Reds. Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr. His name is Steve Offenbaker, and we are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. And combined, we've got about 12 years of experience podcasting about the Cincinnati Reds. We're happy that you're alongside us here today on the Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every single day. And on today's live show, thank you so much if you're joining us live. Make sure you drop down into our comments section and leave us a thought. We'll do some Q&A a little bit later on talking about this Reds team as we look toward the final 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Man, we don't have much time left. There's only a few games left. We will be discussing that all throughout today's show. We are going to be looking at this Minnesota series and what we can watch for in these three games up in Minneapolis, but we will get started with the news that Hunter Greene is working toward a return to the mound. That's on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly when you play $5. And Steve, where we're going to start here is that Hunter Greene has been working his way back. He has been throwing bullpen sessions. He has been, doing long toss, all the different stuff. And with that, he is going to throw a live batting practice session on Saturday with the idea that he can be ready to return to the mound at home next weekend whenever the Pirates come to town. I don't love this idea. I don't know why it's that important. And I kind of think that the Reds are kind of playing with fire a little bit here.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the best laid plan, and I have some concerns that we're now this amount of time into this thing with Hunter Greene for a guy that bumped his elbow. We'll say the Reds, that there was no real injury to, just a bruise because he bumped his elbow. Here's what I know, Jeff. Hunter Greene's made 24 starts this season for the Reds. He's thrown 143 and a third innings. That's his highest inning total of his big league career so far. And he's been pitching lights out, right? He's at 2.83 ERA. His strikeouts per 9 is 10.2. His walks per 9 was just a little high at 3.3, but I will take it. He turned a corner this year. So I can see why the crowd of shut him down wants to just shut him down. He's done his part this year. The Reds aren't playing for anything. Why risk it? But I also see this from the other side. I see this from the side of the Reds wanting to get him back, wanting to get probably 2 more starts under his belt. That would get him to 26 on the season. It would push his innings out into the 160 range for actual games innings. So I kind of like that. That kind of gives him a good foundation, a good finish to this season as he heads into the off season and prepares himself mentally now for the first time to be the true ace of this team heading into a baseball season. So I like getting him back and letting him pitch a couple games to get his mind right for what we need him to be as fans, what the team needs him to be as an ace heading into 2025. So as nervous as it makes me, and it makes me nervous, firing him back up, bringing him back in a meaningless end of a season, I kind of get it. I kind of get what mentality they're trying to create, what mindset they're trying to create in Hunter Greene to get him ready and moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Carrie Reinhardt's voice in here in the comments section, she had mentioned would be good to see Greene come back to finish his year since he'll probably get Cy Young votes. Definitely think the injury kind of derailed any chance at winning the Cy Young. Plus, Chris Sale has just gone super nuclear with his ability to throw a baseball this season. I think he's the clear-cut National League Cy Young winner. But it's definitely been a great year for him. And I think for me, that's the reason that I'm so hesitant, is that we've seen it. And I don't know that I need to see him throw for me to feel any better about his health status. Listen, he did not hurt his elbow throwing. He hurt it by bumping it on the counter. Like, I hurt my elbow by bumping it on the counter all the time. And I don't, frankly, need to throw any amount of innings on a mound to prove to anybody that my elbow is back to working order. I don't think he needs to do that either. Bit of a different situation. I understand I am not a major league pitcher.
We're about to unpack for just a second. You comparing your elbow to Hunter Greene's elbow. Look, I know we're live and there was not time to edit that monstrosity out. So we're digging down on it a little bit. I can guarantee you Hunter Greene's never fallen off the rowing machine at Orange Theory. I can guarantee you that Hunter Greene, if we're rating athletes, his elbow is probably a little bit more athletic.
A little bit stronger. Yeah. But I think, too, that the reason that it's taken so long is there had to be a little bit of a thought process here with the Reds. It was just like, what is the point of bringing him back? Like, let's be honest here for a minute. The Reds have been out of the race for a month now. And when he hit the shelf and when Andrew Abbott hit the shelf, because I've seen some other comments about Andrew Abbott as well, kind of at that point, it was like, man, this really stinks that we're seeing the entire starting rotation hit the injured list. But the Reds were too far gone, even at that point, for it to really be that big of a deal. So it's like, okay, if they have any amount of injury, let's treat this as conservatively as we possibly can, because we can. They didn't need to rush anybody back. And I don't need to see him pitch anymore for me to think any more or less of what his offseason is going to be like. The only thing that I do worry about is that he could aggravate it in some way. And so for me, I think that's really why I just don't see the reasoning behind bringing him back, or frankly, wherever, because I know Andrew Abbott, they said that he is further back in his rehab than where Hunter Greene is right now. So why bring either one of them back? Just shut them down, say, we'll see you and Matt McLain in Goodyear next year.
Yeah, Miss Nikita is saying the same thing. I'd shut Greene down. Why risk the injury for start? I for the reasons I said just a second ago, and also from the Red standpoint, if they're going to start him in that Pittsburgh series, I would imagine they're trying to get him ready to start that final Friday night City Connect game. That's the final Friday night City Connect game, and probably it's a fireworks night as well. So if there's going to be some people in attendance, it'll be that night. And if they have a night that they could boost attendance with who's the starting pitcher, it's that night. So I could see him starting that Friday night, the final Friday home game of the season. So from a
just
team
6 home games left. I mean,
from a financial standpoint, it benefits the team. But I really think it matters to Hunter.
Also, the Nelly game. The Nelly game. Nelly's going to be there too.
My God, I did not know that, and I'm going to be there, which is really all that matters.
It's getting hot.
Stop. What?
I'll keep
Jesus, Jeff. Oh my God. All right. Look, I think it matters to Hunter, though, in the grand scheme of things. Whether we like it, whether the Reds need it, whether it impacts the season, I think Hunter needs it. I think Hunter wants it. His competitive mentality kind of needs. I think he just needs it. I think he needs to come back and finish the season on a higher note than I bumped my elbow. I think he needs that for his mindset. And I need him. I need him to be ready to be the ace of this team, Jeff. I need him to head into this thing being ready to rock and roll. And if that means bringing him back for a couple starts, then bring him back for a couple starts.
All right. I'm not there. I disagree. But hey, at the end of the day, the Reds are going to do what the Reds are going to do. And we know that their management of the roster is never always the most obvious way to manage a roster. But I also know this. The Reds have 3 games coming up here in Minnesota. And quite frankly, the ultimate plan is in jeopardy. I'll tell you why. Coming up next.
When life gets busy, fitting in a workout can be stressful. With Tonal, you can get efficient workouts personalized just for you and are available with the amount of time that you have. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that helps get you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so it can deliver workouts personalized just for you. Tonal learns from your movement and provides suggested weight recommendations for every move with detailed progress reports. They even create personalized program and workout suggestions or recommendations based on your individual goals. It's like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. Again, Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, also known as Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help get you ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Jeff. Talked about Hunter Greene. The Reds have another road series to go. They're heading to Minnesota today, don't you know? And we need to talk a little bit about what are we looking for? Maybe not only in this series. Maybe we open this up just a little bit, Jeff. Rather than this being just about the Minnesota Twins, maybe what are we looking for the rest of the way? What are we looking for not only in this series, but what are we looking for from this team collectively? What are we looking for members of this team individually? As the 2024 season really now is in full wind down for these Reds, 10 games back of the wild card. They're not participating in postseason baseball. It's kind of getting near the end.
Yeah, and I think that most of our goals here and most of our targets are probably on individual bases. Like how is Ellie going to hit against lefties? How is Tyler Stevenson's power? Is it going to finish the season strong? Things like that. And we'll kind of touch on those here in just a moment. But quite frankly, I'm all about the race, Steve. I'm all about the chance to be the most interesting 500 team in baseball. Now, that took a hit in St. Louis, losing 2 out of 3. They could only lose 1 game each series the rest of the way. So they're going to have to sweep somebody. And the easiest way to probably do that mathematically would be to sweep the 2 games against Cleveland. Quite frankly, Cleveland is the best team that they got left on their schedule, so that might be actually the hardest proposition. But they have to win 10 of the remaining 14 games to finish at 500. That is the ultimate goal here. That's what management set forth as we led into opening day with all the holes that they left on this roster. So how can they get it done? They can only lose 4 games the rest of the way. You don't want to spend one of those 4 games here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know that 500 is going to happen. And I also wish I could say that you were being, a little dramatic with this 500 is what management wanted to take. But I also think maybe you might be onto something. Yeah, you know what? They're not going to sweep Cleveland. I don't see that as a thing that's going to happen. They're not going to sweep the Twins either. They're going to lose one of those games up there. I think they'll be just short of 500. I think that's where they finish. The thing that makes me the most crazy about that is how offended I was at the beginning of the season when all of the records predictions came out and you and I were losing
78.
Yeah, you and I were losing our minds, just saying how disrespectful and ridiculous it was. And here we are.
Freaking computers.
Damn it. So that's where we are. So for me, I'm looking at individual performance the rest of the way, Jeff. I'm not going to get too caught up in what the team does collectively. I would like to see them play with some fight collectively the rest of the way. And if they could do that, if they can scratch and claw their way to 500, great. It really doesn't mean anything to me. And I swear I'll throw up in my mouth a little bit if Phil Castellini looks into a camera talking about how 500 with all the injuries that happened, that's really a victory for us. And we're going to come back better next year. And really all these players getting healthy is the addition we need in the offseason. I'm going to die. I'm going to just really die if anybody looks in a camera and says that. So for me, I'm looking at individual performance, Jeff. I want to know if Ellie De La Cruz can get to 25 home runs before this season ends. I want to know if he can be a 25-70 guy, 25 home runs, 70 stolen bases. I think that he can. I want to know if Spencer Steer is going to hit another home run in 2024. I would like
just
to
needs
see
one more for 20.
if he can get to 20. Who I really am interested in seeing get to 20 is my guy, Tyler Stevenson. I think that, he needs 2 more home runs to hit 20 home runs. He's already in a career high for power this year. If you didn't listen to him on the Jim Day podcast, talking about his girl dad power, it was a great interview.
Real. It's a real thing.
It's real. So I want to see if he can get to 20. I want to see how a few of these guys look the rest of the way. Does Santiago Espinal continue to remain on fire? Does Ty France continue to be Mr. Reliable in this lineup? Interesting for those guys, especially because they're going to be playing for their baseball life, so to speak, next year? Are they going to be going into next season in open competition to be starters? Are they going to be going in already known bench players? A lot of what they do the next few weeks feeds into that. So I'm going to be watching for that. And then as far as the pitching goes, Jeff, I just want everybody to get out of here healthy. That's what I'm watching for with these pitchers the rest of the way. I mean, there's going to be times that they're going to have to keep running Carson Spires out there and he's going to get blown up. And we know what he is now and we know what he isn't now. We just kind of need to watch. I want these bullpen guys to get out of here healthy. I'm watching for health. I'm watching to see if Alexis Diaz can maybe pitch his way back into a maybe you can be the closer again conversation. I don't know that he can pitch that well, but those are the things I'm looking for. I don't care about the record because they're not, whether they finish 2 games under 500 or a game over 500, it doesn't matter. They're not making the playoffs, and that's a failure for me. So it doesn't matter to me what their record is.
Yeah, I would, on the Diaz train, I would like to see if he can continue his scoreless streak or really his perfect innings streak. Alexis Diaz has not allowed a base runner in the month of September, and this is coming off a month of August where we were really seeing some bad performances from him. So can he keep that up? That would be great. Kind of want to go back to your Ellie thing for a moment because, yeah, I mean, 25, could he get to 75? Could he get to 74 and beat Acuna's total? I saw somebody had mentioned that. Carrie had mentioned that in the chat. But also for me, on the Ellie side of things, it's become clear, and St. Louis did this almost to a fault during their entire series, that bring in a lefty, switch him around to the right side, because Ellie against left-handed pitchers is a much different hitter. Against righties this year, Ellie, in 427 plate appearances, has a slash line of a 279 batting average, a 361 on base, and a 525 slugging. He destroys right-handed pitching. Left-handed pitching is a different story. In 208 plate appearances, he has a 219 batting average, 306 on base, 355 slugging. We're talking about a pretty pedestrian hitter against left-handed pitching. So I kind of want to see how that continues. It's kind of become a playbook that you run on Ellie a little bit, that you just bring out the lefty and see what he has. He had a nice little bloop single in the game against Jojo Romero on back yesterday against the Cardinals to kind of finish that one out. So can he build on that? Can he get a little bit momentum, give me some more extra base hits there against lefties? Because all of his damage, I mean, he has 7 doubles and 6 homers against lefties this year. So everything else is against righties. All of his triples, 17 of his homers. How does that develop a little bit for me? Because that's going to be something, and I get it, this is his first full year of his career, so it's far too early to say, does he ditch the switch hit thing? But is that going to be something that is more of a weapon next year, or more of a little bit of a gimmicky thing? Because these stats would say right now it's more gimmicky than it is any sort of, strategic.
Two quick things on this Ellie situation with the stolen bases. So he needs 10 stolen bases in 12 games, which is he's absolutely capable.
More
of
than
doing.
doable, yeah.
And I feel like given where the Reds are in this season, let Ellie run. Let Ellie run. He gets on base, let him run. I don't care. If he gets thrown out, he gets thrown out. I do not care. Let him run. Let's see what he can do. One thing you didn't mention, and I'm curious for your thoughts on, does it bother you at all that he's going to probably pass Adam Dunn for the strikeouts in a season leader? Does that bother you? Because I did see lots of graphics being posted of the ridiculous low strikes that continued to be called against Ellie De La Cruz. And while, yeah, he does swing and miss a lot and he does strike out a lot, the umpires certainly have not done him any favors this year.
No, and I talked about this a little bit earlier this week, where it's like, yeah, it's not all on the umpires that Ellie is striking out. You would like to see him strike out a little bit less, but he has, at least on the percentage side of things, he has cut back on his strikeout rate from last year to this year. So that's actually improvement. It's just he's gotten far more at bats, far more playing time. That's why the total is getting as high as it is, because this is also a different game. Like, I think most hitters, if you were to ask them plainly, they don't want to strike out, but they don't mind striking out. it was a different thing back in the day where you.
Yeah, Cowboy was talking about that very thing on one of the broadcasts. We were saying guys used to go back to the dugout and, would kind of go sit away and be embarrassed that they were, a victim of a strikeout. And nobody cares now. That's just part of the game.
Yeah.
You're just trying to go hit the ball hard.
But I think they also realized that the way that pitching is now, people sell out for strikeouts. A pitcher will do everything he can to get a strikeout over everything else. And so if you end up striking out, well, that's okay. You're just going to get them on the next at bat. And so I don't necessarily worry too much about that. I think that we'll see a little bit more plate discipline, especially as we get into next year.
I like this from Michael Blackman. He says Ellie's smart enough that he'll work on his right-handed batting before spring training. That's absolutely true. Him and Juan Soto are going to get together like they do every year
in Reds uniforms.
And stop. And they're going to work on this. This is I'm certain that the right-handed batting is going to be a focus of Ellie in the offseason. Yeah. It's better for him. It's better for the team if he does that. There's a lot of questions and comments we didn't get to, Jeff, and a lot more things we want to talk about. We want to talk about Matt McClain. Could he, should he? We want to talk about the pitching staff. We want to talk a little bit about Andrew Abbott. There's been lots in this comment section, and we're going to get into all of it, all of your questions, all of your comments, and some of our answers coming up next.
Just a few days left within the Major League Baseball season to take advantage of PrizePicks. You got to go now. Go to PrizePicks, download the app, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even have to win. Then you can pick your favorite players like Ellie De La Cruz, like Spencer Steer, like Tyler Stevenson, and pick your favorite stats and click more or click less. It's that easy. All you got to do, put 2 or more picks together, and you could see some cash flow in. And in some cases, you could win up to 100 times your money. And for the month of September, PrizePicks is helping you out a little bit because on the weekends, they have Bears quarterback Caleb Williams, the more or less, the passing yards total. All he has to do is throw more than 1 passing yard, and you win that pick. So make sure you add Caleb Williams to your PrizePicks entries today. Download the app and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even have to win. That's LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks today. PrizePicks, run your game.
You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel here on Locked On Reds. It's because it's America's #1 sports book, and they have something special for you cooking right now. It's a little different. So from now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV's base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment. And the best part is, if you don't like it for some strange reason, you can cancel it at any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all of Sunday, 9/15. Pre-game moneyline bets, boost your profits. It's going to be great. It will be live on Thursday, September 12th. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and download America's #1 sportsbook.
You can catch every pitch of the Reds' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Reds, and you can listen to the Reds broadcast from anywhere. Also, make sure you check out CincinnatiRedsTalk.com. A lot of great written content about your Cincinnati Reds over there. Bookmark CincinnatiRedsTalk.com today.
Is it me now? I guess I'll go. All right, Jeff, let's get into the questions. I guess, yeah, it is me. That's right. Hey, live shows, folks, live shows. We're going to get into your questions and comments. Again, there's been lots of conversation in the chat. If you have something that you wanted us to address, then it's way back up in there. Go ahead and put it back in again, because it just makes it a lot easier for us to get to it if it comes up fresh. I do like this from Bob Miller. Ellie would really be helped if they would install a challenge system. Many of his at-bats, he would only get 2 legitimate strikes. There was a graphic, Jeff, I don't know if you saw this, where none of the strikes, or only one of the strikes that were called a strike in the at-bat was actually a strike. Everything else was outside, and he still was called out on strikes. And I'm kind of against, unless they can find a really good way to implement a challenge system, except that I really agree with this statement. I would love just for Ellie to turn around and be, no, challenge that. There's no way that was a strike. I would love for that to happen.
It just so happens that I pulled this graphic off of Baseball Savant the other day to talk about the luck factor when it comes to the umpires that are calling strikes. This is every called strike that Ellie De La Cruz has faced this season. That's why it's so bunched up. It's a long season. He's seen I think it's something like 496 called strikes. And there are a lot. And quite frankly, there's a lot less than I thought there would be underneath the zone. But there are so many that are on the sides, like outside the zone, inside, outside, depending on which handed he's batting for that particular at bat, but they're off the plate and they're being called against him. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the evolution of pitch framing, the way that catchers are able to make a breaking ball that might be coming in like a front door curveball, front door slider, something like that, or a back door slider.
Corner. Yeah.
And he's able to kind of bring it in, and the umpire just sees how the glove moves and he's like, oh, it's a strike, but it's not. And that's really hurting him. I know there was a particular bat there on Thursday's game where that was the case. It was one strike. It was the called third strike that he ended up striking out on, but the first two strikes were off the plate. And there's been so many at bats like that. And I get it. There's an element of adaptation that he needs to add to his game. But on the other side of things, you change a guy's approach so much when you go from a 3-1 count to a 2-2 count. And that changes how much power he's going to swing with. That changes how he grips the bat, where he stands in the box. And he has faced that so much that it feels like for a guy that's still learning the strike zone and learning major league pitchers' repertoires and the way that they progress through a given at bat, and I know this is going to sound a little bit whiny, but it kind of feels a little bit unfair to the guy.
Michael says, should he wear his pants at his knees? Maybe that would help. Bright red socks all the way up to his knees.
That's why Joey Votto did it. I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Yep. It certainly couldn't hurt. And this I know, Jeff, a challenge system on these pitches is not going to happen next season. Rob Manfred has come out on multiple occasions saying that they do not like the results that they've seen from the challenge system in the minor leagues. They don't think the technology is where they would want it to be at the major league level. And he never really has expanded upon that. He's never really told us what that means, other than to be clear that he's not looking to see it start next season. So we're not going to see that. And in fact, it could be part of the next collective bargaining negotiation, really. That could be when we see that. So if they're not really sold on the system.
Let's get into the weeds for just 2 seconds on this, because could there be a situation where they set up, at least for the sides of the plate, like a laser system, like maybe extended out from the netting behind, and you have invisible lasers, obviously, but a laser system that the automatic balls and strike system could draw from and be like, okay, this touched the laser, it's a strike, or it completely missed the laser and it's off the plate, it's a ball.
I think pro tennis fiddled around with a LiDAR system at one point in time. So kind of like what you're talking about, and then switched to more of a camera based on the lines review system. But the technology's out there. I mean, if you can design a Roomba that can wander around your house without bumping into things using invisible lasers, I think we could figure out the balls and strikes. But I also think that Rob Manfred wants to use this as a negotiation tool. And I don't think they're going to dive too deep into the technology until we get to the next CBA. And I think that's just the way that it is. So, and as far as that graphic you had up there on the screen for the audio folks, Jeff's going to tweet that out. It will go out on the Locked On Red social media on X if you want to get a look at it. But it tells that there was a lot of pitches outside the box that were called strikes on Ellie De La Cruz in 2024. All right. How about this from Carrie? And Carrie, Carrie's one of those names. He, she, I know we say it he sometimes, we say it she sometimes. Which one is it, so that I can get it right moving forward?
I remember her saying this.
Okay. Well, she says this. Possibly put Abbott on the trade block for a big hitter since we've got other pitchers. I know, never enough pitchers, but I don't know if Abbott's the guy I'm looking to deal. Maybe Chase Petty's that guy.
Maybe he did just get promoted to AAA.
You just get promoted. Maybe you package him with somebody. I don't know about giving away major league pitching right now, given we don't know how everybody's going to look coming back. We don't know what's going on with Nick Lodolo. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know. We don't know how the league's going to adjust to Rhett Lauder beginning next season. There's a lot of unknown.
I almost wonder if the prudent thing would be, you talk about a trade block meaning that, they're going to kind of advertise a little bit to other teams. Hey, this guy's available. They should do that with Graham Ashcraft before they move him to the bullpen, because could they get an interesting hitter? Could he be an interesting piece to a trade that gets something back? Maybe not, but if you're going to move him to the bullpen, at least, the Reds have not come out and said that. That just about everybody else like us that watch the Reds that think that should probably happen, and maybe other major league teams look this way, but could you convince somebody else like, yeah, he still has starter potential in him, and you get starter value for him in a trade? That would be the guy that I would look for first. I would not be looking to deal any one of Abbott, Lodolo, or Greene. Lodolo, actually, I might be even more apt to deal than Abbott right now. But I feel like even coming into this offseason, the Reds need more pitching as it is. They should at least sign a starter this season. They don't have to sign a top flight guy, but like a middle of the rotation, back into the rotation type dude, I'd feel a lot better about going into opening day. So I would have a hard time agreeing that they need to trade one of the guys that they already have, because then you would just open up another spot that they would need to sign back. So I don't think I would trade Andrew Abbott this offseason.
Couple good comments going by. We're going to do a little potpourri here. Debbie Brown weighs in and agrees with the Red Sox. I think we're on to something here. We're going to have to ask Ellie to wear his Red Sox to his knees. Love talking baseball with you folks. Tell your friends about the show. We want to talk baseball with them as well. And with that being said, Jeffrey, get us out of here.
Thanks, everybody, for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure that you are subscribed and you're with us on Monday, because we'll be wrapping up this Minnesota series and how the Reds did, and looking forward to the final homestand of 2024. Almost forgot what year it was there. But thanks so much for making us your first listen. Now check out Locked On MLB. We actually have a link in the description of today's episode for Locked On MLB, so you don't have to go searching for it. Make it nice and easy for you to hear about Sully talking about the playoffs as we get ever closer to the postseason. But as for Steve and myself, you can expect us to be Locked On Reds every single day.
Your elbow is like Hunter Greene's elbow. Good God.
I didn't say it was like it. I'm just saying, like elbows, and we all got them.